Welcome to Red Ice Creations Radio, internet talk radio recorded from the west coast of Sweden. My name is Henrik Palmgren and our website is redicecreations.com. We have a new program for you every Thursday and Sunday that you can tune into. You can access our archive of regular shows for free, dating all the way back to our start over a year ago. We also have a subscriber section that you definitely don't want to miss out on if you want to enjoy everything that we have to offer in our radio archive. Today we have Craig Hines with us on the program, and we are going to dive into talking about Craig's book Gateway of the Gods, the theme of the Watchers or the Nephilim, and also the Gateway or / Stargate is something that we definitely are interested in on this radio show, and it's great to hear from a new voice in this field also. We spent some time last week, I think it was, with Tom Horn talking a little bit about the Nephilim also, and we'll see where we end up here today talking about Craig's book. It's going to be a lot of fun to hear from Craig and from a new voice, as I said. So the website also that you should check out right away is gatewayofthegods.com. A beautiful looking site with much more information about the book and about Craig himself. So let's bring on our guest and get this program going. Welcome to the program, Craig, and thank you so much for spending some time with us here today.
Oh, hi, Henrik, and thank you for inviting me onto the show.
Excellent. It's nice to have you with us. Before we dive into talking a little bit about your book, this is your first time on the program. I don't know if people out there are familiar with you. I know that you've been on Lou Gentili and you're going to be on Coast to Coast soon, so I guess your name is getting more and more out there, as it were. But before we dive into talking about your book, maybe you could mention a little bit about yourself, your background, and your interest in this subject.
Sure. I've had a lifelong interest in the paranormal, but for most of my life growing up, I was always involved in multimedia projects like video production and computer artwork. So that was the kind of career that I was pursuing. Everyone who knew me in school knew that that's what I was going to do. Basically, though, by the time it came for graduation, one thing led to another, and I just deeply got involved in the research that later became this book. I threw myself into the topic of ancient texts, ancient cultures, theoretical physics, and it took 7 long years, but the book is finally available.
Excellent. You mentioned computer graphics and art and so forth. Looking at your website and, of course, your book cover, both were very beautiful. Are you behind that in any way?
Yeah, I was intimately involved in every aspect. I was involved in creating the cover artwork and the interior layout, the website. I'm actually planning on doing an overhaul and a complete revision of that very soon, but just haven't gotten around to it.
Okay, really? Do you work like with only with digital graphics, or do you paint and stuff like that too?
I do some paint, but it's mostly digital. I'm a certified Adobe nut.
Oh, okay, I see.
I have just about every Adobe product made.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Are you involved in any, since Adobe is involved in film material, are you that a field too that you're into, making video or film?
Yes, I haven't been able to do that recently, but I'm trying to find further ways to integrate my own research with the book and other topics that I'm interested in, with maybe some future video projects and or online video projects.
Excellent. This topic, as we said, of course, about the Watchers and so forth, is definitely getting out there, as it were. A lot of films, in a way or another, seems to be, doing their research too, as it were, the screenwriters and so forth. And this is something that is out there. And let us begin talk a little bit about these gods, as it were. They go under many names. The Watchers, some call them the Nephilim or the Sons of God, and even the depictions and the physical descriptions are very varied. Some call them the Shining Ones, others refer to them as the Giants and so forth. There's a lot of different elements we can bring in here to describe this. And Craig, what have you found in your research? Who or what are the Watchers?
Well, a very complicated topic there. We have to distill down. Over the years, I read numerous theories. So my ideas on this have ranged from originally angels to then it was space aliens, and now I'm back to angels, but with a different interpretation on what an angelic being is. So it's really been all over the spectrum, but the Watchers specifically, if we refer back to the ancient texts, such as the Book of Enoch, they were called the sons of God, and they were these beings that allegedly came from heaven, and they came here to teach humankind and instruct them in certain ways of civilization and proper conduct. Unfortunately, according to the text, they also became enamored with the lovely women, and one thing led to another with that, and so there was a lot of anarchy that spread about the land as these hybrid offspring were born to them that were known as the Nephilim.
Have you read a lot of Zechariah Sitchin, that type of material? I mean, we could go back to, as you say, the Bible, or we have the what is it called, the Nagamari Library and so forth. Is this sources that you derive for your work from?
Yeah, actually, I touched upon all of those for my research. For a while there, like I said, I was into the research of Zechariah Sitchin, as many people were. However, the more that I researched his material, the more I realized that not everything was as accurate or perhaps even as truthful as some people would be led to believe. And so it required a major revision to my thinking about it. But I think that now with what I've learned, I can go back to the ancient text and let the text speak for themselves, and we don't need to start reinterpreting specific words and things to mean what we want them to believe. Just let them say what they do, and we can get a much more clearer picture of the story.
One thing I know that has been difficult, and also, of course, why Sitchin got a lot of attention back in when was this 70s or 80s, something like that.
Yeah, I think he published in the 70s and a lot during the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and one of the advantages, as it were, that he had was that he was the one, who actually could read a cuneiform, I guess, and at the time there weren't a lot of people around who actually could do that. But do you know if there's more people and more researchers around these days that actually can look at the same material as Sitchin did and actually reinterpret some of that too?
Well, yes. Specifically, I would recommend people check out the work of Dr. Michael Heiser. Now, this might get me into some hot water because I know that there are a lot of people that follow Sitchin's work, but Dr. Heiser has spent the last few years showing how Sitchin does not understand the ancient languages, and he takes great leaps of logic in his reinterpreting, and that actually I highly doubt that he can read a lot of the languages that he claims he does.
Interesting.
Because Dr. Heiser has pointed out many grammatical errors and things, which I even point out in my book, that Sitchin, if he really knew the languages, it's inexcusable for the mistakes that he made. I can catch them, and I don't even have a background in Hebrew and Aramaic.
So, what is that all about, do you think? I mean, does it do?
I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said, I don't want to speak ill of Sitchin because he has done a lot of good to bring this topic and give it the attention that it deserves. It's just, unfortunately, I think too many people believe that they hang on his every word, and that they think that he does have this skill, but he's never presented the actual credentials. He's been asked numerous times to show where he went to school to learn these languages, and to my knowledge, he hasn't done so. For instance, I mentioned in the book, but I got permission from Dr. Heiser to reproduce it. I think it was in Sitchin's book, The Stairway to Heaven. He's reinterpreting one of the lines where it was saying, he was trying to equate the Watchers as being the Nephilim, and specifically he mentions right in his own text, he says, but nowhere in this writing does it say Watchers, it says Nephilim. But unfortunately the problem is that whenever he reproduces the actual Aramaic letters, he mistakenly refers to it as Hebrew, but you can tell that it's Aramaic based upon the endings of the words. That's the first mistake. other one is he says that the word watchers does not appear anywhere in that line of text, and it's right there in the middle. So the very word he's telling his audience does not exist in that line is smack dab in the text in his own book.
Oh my.
So if he really knew how to read that, he mixes up Hebrew and Aramaic, and then the very word he's telling everyone isn't in that line is right there in the middle. So I think that that's a major thing that opened up my eyes to questioning his abilities.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely understand that. You know, do you think that is there any significance in the interpretation of the names? I mean, as I said in the beginning, there are a lot of names to, you know, we could say the Watchers or the Nephilim or you know, Sons of God or whatever. But do you think there is a reason for the name? Is that a thing that is very important to you? Do you refer to?
It is. Based upon my research, I've seen so many different names applied to these beings, but many times they all equate to roughly the same thing. Like a lot of them mean shining ones.
Yeah.
And it's descriptive. You have the Hebrew term El or Elohim, which not only means God, but it has the connotation based upon where it's derived in ancient Akkadian and Babylonian text with meaning mighty man or shining one.
Yeah.
But so not only do you have the word El meaning God and shining one, but then you move to like Anglo-Saxon languages and you have the word elf. Which everyone has heard about elves, but you have that same sound, and what it originally meant was a shining, radiant being.
Interesting.
So all over the world you have these same descriptions, and while the words change, which is expected to happen as the words evolve over time and pass through different cultures, there's still this core to the words that you can pick out, and they have the same meaning, even if it sounds different in another language.
Very interesting, and this, you know, right away actually, you know, brings us into the topic of some people refer to it as the first language or the original language, which in a way I guess is even connected with the Tower of Babel. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, definitely, because the whole story behind the Tower of Babel was that basically humans wanted to make this tower to reach heaven, and according to the story, God sees this from in heaven, and he comes down with the divine council and says, this can't happen. If they are able to achieve this, nothing will be impossible for them, and so we must stop it. And so then you have this clever wordplay between the Hebrew word Balel, which means to mix or confuse, with the Babylonian term Babel. And so the whole Tower of Babel story is a clever pun on the part of the Hebrew writers of the Bible, describing this, because the actual term Babel means gateway of God, which is where I derive the title of the book.
Oh, very interesting. And what is it? Isn't it the word etemenanke is involved in that too? Do you know if that is that a...
That's the Sumerian term. That means the foundation of heaven and earth.
Okay.
And that is what they referred to these ancient ziggurats, which were the stepped pyramids, where they built these structures, and they claimed that at the top there was some sort of device or portal that would allow the gods to traverse the heavens and come to earth through this portal or this gateway.
Very interesting.
Hence, like I said, the term Babel means gateway of God.
Yeah. And I know also that in your book you also connect even the tarot with the ancient knowledge, I guess, with this, and especially in that context, of course, the tarot card, the Tower, isn't that right?
Yes, it is. It's not so much that I'm connecting it like directly to the tarot, but it's more that I've noticed throughout all my research that these same themes